the Indiana Fever front office is about to do another roster overhaul for the 2026 WNBA season.
The Indiana Fever just sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA. Only hours after their elimination from playoff contention, the franchise made a jaw-dropping decision that no one saw coming, releasing 8 players in one night. The move left fans in disbelief, insiders completely blindsided, and rival teams scrambling to understand what could have possibly pushed Indiana to wipe out nearly half of its roster overnight. Was this a bold, strategic rebuild, or a desperate reaction to yet another disappointing season? As one analyst bluntly put it, "I believe a lot of players will be exiting the building like Elvis, bro. They got to get the hell out of Dodge." He went on to say, "More than half of this team is going to leave. I just got to keep it real. A lot of players are going to be gone, maybe even some big names. And most importantly, we need to get the ball back to Caitlin." This situation is no longer just about basketball. It's about control, urgency, and the race to build a championship-caliber team around Caitlin Clark before her patience runs out. The sweeping roster cuts sent one undeniable message: Indiana refuses to settle for mediocrity. Every move now revolves around maximizing the impact of the WNBA's biggest superstar. No one had predicted the Fever would make it this far, especially given the roster's instability and Clark's heavy burden. They were projected to be playoff contenders early on, but that was under a completely different lineup. The reality was far more turbulent. As many fans pointed out, momentum was everything this season, and once it slipped, Indiana never truly recovered. When the final buzzer sounded on their season, the locker room atmosphere turned ice cold. Players sat in uneasy silence, realizing that for some, this had been their final game wearing a Fever jersey. Sources close to the team revealed that this mass exodus wasn't a spontaneous decision, it had been building for weeks. Behind the scenes, tension had been brewing between management and head coach Stephanie White over rotations, chemistry, and offensive direction. The team's late-season collapse only confirmed what everyone inside already suspected: something had to change, and fast. Let us know in the comments if you agree with Indiana's drastic moves, and which players you think they should sign next. Observers had long criticized White's offensive system for being too rigid. "We all know Stephanie White was running a whole lot of sets, bro," one insider commented. "A lot of off-ball things. A lot of stuff Caitlin Clark doesn't really like to do. Let's just be honest, Clark has been the biggest trooper for this team. But we've got to go back to the base." By the time the season ended, the Fever front office had already decided to hit the reset button. The system in place was holding Clark back, forcing her to play within constrictive set plays rather than the high-tempo, read-and-react style that made her a legend at Iowa. The offense had grown predictable and sluggish, stripping away Clark's creativity and spark. She continued to carry the team on her back, but the joy that once defined her game seemed to fade away. Meanwhile, the injury bug exposed Indiana's lack of depth and conditioning. The team lost rhythm, energy, and belief as the season dragged on. They were running off-ball sets and doing all these different experiments. One analyst noted, "Without momentum, I don't think they would have made it that far." They were playing meaningful basketball mostly because of the injuries. They had to rally around that adversity. During exit interviews, several players admitted that the bench had provided crucial energy to keep them going through long, grueling stretches. But after elimination, the front office wasted no time. Before sunrise, 8 players received phone calls informing them they would not be returning. Ruthless? Absolutely. But deliberate. The Fever were done with surviving. They wanted to start winning. The message was crystal clear. From now on, the team would be built entirely around Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. Inside the organization, a growing number of voices had been calling for a return to the kind of system that unleashed Clark's full potential: fast-paced, instinctive, and unpredictable. Even Iowa coach Lisa Blood's offensive scheme was reportedly mentioned in internal discussions as a possible model. That Iowa system didn't just make Clark a prolific scorer, it made her the conductor of everything happening on the floor. Years ago, Clark herself explained why that freedom mattered so much. That was a huge reason why I came here, she said. Coach preached to me in the recruiting process that I'd have the ball in my hands a lot. A lot of my final schools said the same, but what really stood out was the read and react offense. You're making basketball reads, not running a set every possession. You're not being told what to do every time down the floor. You're just playing the game you love. With new cap space now available, the Fever finally have the flexibility to find players who fit Clark's style, shooters, movers, and playmakers who thrive in rhythm. One insider even joked, "If you can't cut, shoot, or keep up with Caitlin, don't bother coming to camp." Clark herself has been patient but transparent about her frustration. In recent interviews, she's hinted that she wants to play a more natural, fluid game again. She just wants to play basketball. Behind those careful words lies a competitor tired of being restricted. She knows that when she's free to lead on instinct, everyone around her performs better. The style of play needs to go back to basics, one commentator emphasized. That basic is giving Caitlin the ball and letting her play freely, no constant set calls, no overcoaching. Surround her with players who understand spacing and timing, because Caitlin herself said it best. This roster purge marks more than just a fresh start, it's the dawn of a new era for the Indiana Fever. For the first time, the franchise is truly aligning its identity with the generational talent who reignited national interest in women's basketball. They're going all in on Clark's fast, fearless, and free-flowing brand of basketball. If Indiana gets this rebuild right, the team could transform from frustration to legitimate contender within a single year. But if they miss again, they risk wasting the prime of a player carrying not just her team, but the entire WNBA's momentum on her shoulders. One thing's for certain, Caitlin Clark isn't just the future of the Fever, she is the future. And this time, it finally looks like the organization is ready to build a team worthy of her greatness. As fans began tallying the names, the scope of the overhaul became real. "Let me see," one fan said. "Bree Hall gone. Shea Petty gone. Natasha Howard gone. Bree Turner gone. Damiris Dantas gone. Ariel Powers gone. Sydney Colson gone." That's 8 players, yep 8. For Fever fans, this isn't just a roster reset, it's an identity shift. Everyone knows what happens when Caitlin Clark is unleashed. The pace explodes, the crowd feeds off her energy, and even opponents start to look rattled. This rebuild isn't about cutting players, it's about cutting excuses. It's about building every decision, coaching, recruiting, and rotations around the player who brought the spotlight back to Indiana and to the WNBA.